Hi guys, so today we're going to be making an easy peasy kimono. So this is one of those projects that I just love doing, and it can be very effective depending on the fabric that you choose to use, but here we go. So first of all, you want to start off with a piece of fabric that measures your hips plus 14 inches by length, shoulder to hem plus 2 inches. Fold your fabric in half along the width and then in half again along the same width. Now to create the neckline, measure from the center folds outwards. You're going to measure and mark 3 inches going along the shoulder, and then measure downwards 1 inch, and that's for the back neckline. So from that mark at the 1 inch, you're going to draw a curve. Now draw a curve from the mark at the center back that lands on the mark at the shoulder seam. This creates your back neckline. Now transfer the mark on the shoulder seam over to the front section of the kimono, and measuring it along the center front fold or the center front piece, you're going to mark 15 inches. Now take a ruler and join those two markings you've just made with a straight line. That will be your front neckline. Now you need to create the armhole, and that goes in this section here. So what you need to do is from the shoulder seam, measure down and mark 11.5 inches. Now put your scissors in through the two layers, because there's two folded layers there. Put your scissors in through those two folds and cut down to that mark that you've made. So this is all the cutting that you will need to do for this kimono. Now I just need you to snip the center back at the neckline there. So I've just made a little tiny notch so I know exactly where my center back is. Now fold your kimono so that its right side is facing inside and you've got the shoulder seams lined up for the both shoulders. Now it's going to be a very simple stitching instruction for this. You're literally just going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance along the shoulder seams, and that is all the stitching you're going to use to put together the body of the kimono. Now I'm just measuring the entire neckline, so that's from the hem at the front all the way to the center back of my neckline, over the shoulders and all the way to the center back of my neckline, and that's going to help me know what length I need to cut out for the collar that goes right from the hem on the front and over to the other side. Now we're going to cut out the sleeves. The next section we need to focus on are the sleeves. To work out the sleeve length, measure from the center back of the kimono and along the shoulder seam. Minus this from your nape to sleeve hem measurement, and that would give you the length of the sleeve. The width of the sleeve is 23 inches. Once your sleeve has been cut, I want to show you how to sew the sleeve. So all you need to do is fold it in half along the width of the fabric, and then you're going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Later on in this project, I will be doing mine with a French seam, and I'll show you just how to do that too. Here I am sewing the 1/2 inch seam allowance. And once that's done, I'm going to turn my sleeve right side out. This is how to fit the sleeve. Turn it right side out and your kimono wrong side out. And I'm just inserting the sleeve into the sleeve hole, into the armhole there, lining up the sleeve head with the armhole and sewing right around with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure that the shoulders are matched up, and make sure that the side seam of the sleeve and the side of the kimono is well matched up as well. So this is a prototype of my kimono. I've done it in this fabric so you can see how it works and how easy it is to make. So next I'm going to carry on making this in my actual chiffon fabric, and I hope you enjoy viewing it. The next thing we need to do is to measure the neckline for the collar that's going to go around this from hem to hem. Multiply this measurement by 2 and make note of this as your collar length. As a decorative detail, I have decided to make a solid black band strip that goes around the edges of the sleeve and the edges of the kimono down at the hem. So to do this, all you have to do is cut out a strip of fabric that measures the circumference of the area you're doing, so that would be the entire hem or the entire sleeve hem, and that's the width of that, and then the length of that needs to be 3 inches. So here I have cut those strips out, and I am now folding in 1/2 inch just on one edge. So the next thing you want to do is fold over that strip so it's now coming over to the right side of the fabric. So you have a very neat edge at the hem of the sleeve, and you're just going to sew along that folded edge just about 1/8 of an inch inside of the seam, and to give you a perfect finish. If you don't want to machine this, you could always do a hand stitch and that would make it very neat. So here I am doing my French seams. So to do a French seam, freeze frame. So to do a French seam, the first thing you want to do is put your seams together with the right side outside. And then you're going to sew with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've sewn this, trim that seam allowance down, then flip your piece inside out so that the wrong side is now on the outside, and then you're going to go back and sew along that same seam that you've just sewn, encasing the seam that you sewn previously inside the new seam that you will sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Right, onto the collar piece now. So what you need to do is cut out a strip of fabric again that measures 5 inches width, and the length of this needs to be the hem over to the center back of the neckline times 2. So that's what you need the length to be, and the width is going to be 5 inches. I've cut out this long strip and now I'm interfacing it. So you're going to cut out the fabric and also cut out the same for the interfacing, and then just go ahead and interface the two. Make sure that you press your interfacing on very well. Then you want to fold your collar piece in half right along the entire length of it. Once you folded it in half, I'm folding another 1/2 inch seam allowance on just one edge. So now I'm pinning the unfolded edge that it needs to go on. So that's from the hem across around the back neckline and all the way down to the other hem. So start doing this from the center back. So you pin down one side to the hem and then pin down the other side to the hem, and then take that over to your machine and sew it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You need to make sure that you've pinned the right side of your collar to the wrong side of the kimono. Right, at the bottom edge, you'll see that the collar piece extends the kimono by 1/2 inch. This is fine, and this is what it's supposed to do. So fold the collar piece right side inside just at that edge, and then sew along the bottom 1/2 inch seam allowance, and that will give you a very clean finish at the hem of your kimono where the collar is. Once this is sewn, just clip the corners so when you turn it out you can get a nice point. So now go ahead and tuck the seam that you just created inside the collar piece, and then pin the folded edge lined up with the seam right around the whole entire collar area. And then you're going to sew just on the edge like you did with the sleeve hem earlier. I hope you enjoy making this project. Have a look at the pictures, and this is how it all came out. I've tried it in a different fabric as well. I made it in an Ankara print in a different length. So this is something you could really have a lot of fun with. Try different fabrics, make it very glamorous, make it very casual, whatever your style may be. This is a very easy make, and I hope you enjoyed it. Do show me what you do by tagging the Bally Galleria on my Instagram handle at Chinelo Bally. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you make. See you again next time. Bye.